All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking one of the most fascinating spatial and cultural shifts of our modern era. For decades, the tech industry just expanded outward, right? It stretched out into these sprawling, isolated suburban monoliths. But recently, the entire ecosystem collapsed inward. It literally raced straight back into hyper-focused urban density. We're going to explore this massive spatial migration, tracking the journey from those quiet corporate campuses straight into the intense, high-velocity heart of what we now call Area 27. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. First, we'll look at the suburban tech monolith, then dig into why AI evicted suburbia. Next, we go inside Area 27, unpack the hacker house matrix, examine the urban network flywheel, and finally land on the new Silicon reality. Think of this as a highly focused teardown of a massive geographic migration. To really grasp the scale of what happened here, we need to look at this fundamental shift, the Great Inversion. On one side, you have the past, the industrial monastery. Think par-dependent isolation, sprawling parking lots, and quiet, closed corporate monoliths sitting securely behind gates. It was measured, it was slow. But then boom, the pendulum swings. Suddenly we're thrust into the Area 27 matrix hub, and this is an entirely different beast. It's a dense, highly walkable urban crucible, a brilliant, chaotic environment where minds and capital are just colliding at 1,000 miles an hour. Section 1. The suburban tech monolith, or the era of the industrial monastery. To fully grasp this migration, we gotta look at the original post-World War II aesthetic of tech. Picture it. This geographic model was engineered back in 1954 by Stanford's Fred Terman. The strategy was super deliberate. Extract cutting-edge tech out of dense cities and drop it right into the flat, pastoral topography of the Santa Clara Valley. We're talking pristine, low-slung concrete pavilions and massive glass corporate rings. It was completely optimized for car-dependent silos and massive execution scale. And honestly, this sprawling setup was absolutely perfect for the mobile app and SaaS eras, which really needed those massive campuses to house thousands of employees. Section 2. Why AI evicted suburbia, the structural fracture. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it fundamentally redefines AI. We're dealing with Phase 7 artificial intelligence here. This isn't just standard software. It's practically a biological shift. It's a high-velocity, multidisciplinary science where data is incredibly volatile, and any lag, it's fatal. Perfecting these foundational transformer models demands that elite researchers, hardware architects, and risk-tolerant venture capitalists are literally in the exact same room in real time. So the harsh reality? The suburban campus was exposed as a slow, low-yield industrial monastery. Think about the physical reality of the South Bay back then. You had brilliant engineers and academics separated by miles of congested highway traffic, insulated behind layers of high-security corporate badges. That sheer geographic friction simply could not move at the speed of modern cognitive capitalism. The physical space was structurally incapable of keeping up, which forced the elite vanguard of this revolution to actually flee the suburbs just to survive. Moving on to Section 3, inside Area 27, the 3-district reactor core. The destination for this massive brain trust wasn't just scattered randomly. It was a highly dense 3-mile urban triangle directly inside San Francisco. Let's actually walk through these interconnected nodes. Step 1 is the Mission District, functioning as the industrial foundries, where companies run massive model compiles inside retrofitted century-old brick warehouses. Step 2, Potrero Hill, acting as the venture lofts. This is where elite venture capital firms set up these sunlit glass outposts for frictionless, rapid-fire funding. And Step 3 is Hayes Valley, the Hacker Commons, where the Victorian homes and public cafes act as a sprawling whiteboard for algorithmic design. Area 27 actively leveraged this historic architecture to create total structural transparency and incredibly fluid cross-pollination. Section 4, the Hacker House Matrix, or the 24-hour ingestion crucible. So the crucial point is how these converted residential spaces completely demolish the boundary between domestic life and industrial execution. We're seeing collectives of elite machine learning engineers living under raw cryptographic monikers, names like Genesis House, AGI Den, or Compute House. And these aren't just your typical shared apartments. They act exactly like modern variants of ancient guild workshops. You've got 10 to 20 brilliant minds living, coding, and operating in total lockstep. And the ultimate strategic advantage of that extreme lifestyle? Zero. Literally zero baseline survival overhead. By stripping out the common furniture and forcing brilliant cash-poor university dropouts into a 24-hour continuous solder and code friction, these houses slash their living costs to almost nothing while maximizing execution velocity. I mean, we're talking about engineers waking up at 3 a.m., rolling out of a bunk, and checking training loss curves on their laptops over coffee. This incredibly intense environment completely virtualized company formation latency. A startup can literally be conceptualized on a Monday, compiled into a working product by Thursday, and funded by Friday morning without anyone ever leaving the physical footprint of the house.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into the urban network flywheel, the full-stack ecosystem.
When we zoom back out, it's like a giant turbine. We see 3 synchronized operations powering this entire urban ecosystem. First, decentralized demo events. These are informal showcases inside mission warehouses where investors underwrite companies based on real-time coding benchmarks instead of polished slide decks. Second, systemic risk capital loops. You've got venture capitalists literally walking the streets and writing multi-million-dollar checks on mobile apps directly from local coffee shops. And third, the compute plumbing. Advanced Oracle OCI and local SF server clusters function as these hidden pipes, pumping oceans of tokenized data right into these workspaces. Any successful exit generates liquid capital that doesn't just retreat to a bank. It is instantly recycled straight back into the neighborhood's hacker houses, keeping that flywheel spinning flawlessly. Section 6. The new Silicon Reality. The continuum of spatials. Now, while the geographic location violently changed, the foundational law of tech density remains completely untouched. Look at this progression, from the 1954 suburban campus core, through the 2010s mobile and SaaS era, and finally into 2026 Phase 7 cognitive systems. Fred Terman's original law actually holds true. That law that high technology requires absolute physical proximity is mathematically continuous. Area 27 still relies entirely on the exact same uncompromised coupling, the abstract, brilliant West Coast software intellect operating in the city, physically anchored to and powered by the raw material foundations of Santa Clara silicon microchips down the peninsula. The formula didn't break, you guys, it just condensed. And this brilliantly illustrates the total structural inversion we've been talking about. We've moved from the legacy South Bay monolith, defined by car-dependent sprawl and rigid institutional scale, all the way over to the Area 27 reactor core. Here we see a hyperdense urban grid, repurposed industrial brick foundries, and a frictionless collision commons for capital. We literally transitioned from measured corporate isolation directly into a 24-hour continuous crucible. Which brings us to the ultimate, absolutely crucial takeaway of this explainer. Intel thrives exclusively on friction, proximity, and absolute structural mobility. This spatial migration proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that cutting-edge high technology cannot be chained to static, closed architectural monuments. It requires raw, high-density containment to really flourish. The future is being built by those with the absolute clarity to compress human genius into a highly concentrated urban matrix and just let the sparks fly. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on. As we solidify this new hyperdense reality, how will autonomous AI agents alter the physical design and economic utility of traditional office spaces within these urban brick foundries? It's a fascinating question about where the architecture of intelligence goes next and what happens when the tools we build actually start redesigning the rooms we build them in. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.